Okay, we are live and broadcasting for now what I think is the Fedora team's 10th demo. We have 2 items to demo for you today, and in the interest of all the background noise that I have at my house, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Adam with no further ado to get started.
Great, thanks. Today I'm going to talk about what will be the backend for the Fedora release engineering automation. I wrote a tool called Loopable. Ralph Bean and I came up with the idea a few weeks back and kind of went from idea to proof of concept pretty quickly. I'm going to share my screen to help this process along a bit. Okay, so everybody see the web browser?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Loopable. We have a fun little logo that's temporary because anyways. So it's still relatively under development. So we have our little disclaimer up here, but the basic idea is that it's an event loop-driven Ansible execution, I guess engine, for lack of a better term. And the interface between Loopable and events are plugins, and those plugins simply need to do 2 things, or I'm sorry, provide 2 things. They need to provide a routing key and a Python dictionary of data that should come from the event and be useful to an Ansible playbook. And that's effectively it. The routing key, however, will need to correspond to an Ansible playbook, so your Ansible playbook should be named after your routing key in order to just kind of make that useful. And then the data that is passed in the Python dictionary is actually then sent into the Ansible playbook as add-on variables. So there's also a configuration file. The configuration file is just a simple YAML that allows you to define your routing keys so that in the event that your plugin is emitting more information, let's say, for example, your plugin is just sending all events off of some kind of message bus, and you're not filtering anything. You will then want to only react to certain routing keys. And in our example here, in the example I'll show, we're only going to react to a couple. And then there's also reserve word all, meaning that everything, just go for it. Define the plugin. You can pick your plugin. And then we can actually say a few things about Ansible. Where our inventory is, playbooks directory, modules directory. Beyond that, here I'm going to actually switch my screen share to... Do I see a terminal?
Yep.
How's the font size?
Lovely.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so this is actually the git checkout of Loopable. And if we look at it, there's a bunch of stuff going on. However, the examples is kind of what we're mostly interested in. So we have an inventory. It's just, we're defining something as our engine. It's going to be our local host. We're going to tell Ansible that our connection is local. And then we will actually use the example command off of the main page, and that will, let's see, we'll go into our configs. So here's our example configuration. We tell Loopable where our playbooks are, our inventory file, and the routing keys, and our plugin. And then our playbooks. So if we look here at the name of our routing keys, we have org fedora project.prod.ansible.playbook.start, and then also build.state change. And these correspond to Fed message topics. And if you have something else in your environment that would emit a different kind of routing key, you can call them whatever makes sense. So really quick. No, that didn't. Okay. So we'll see here that our playbooks are named the exact same thing as our routing keys, except with the added .yaml. And for the example purposes, these are very simple. It's just a debug message. It's going to output some information that we got from the event from the plugin, and then we will just go ahead and run this. Oops. This command came directly from the GitHub README page, and this is just going to run the example that we have there. Now it's running. So if I were to go and cause an event to playbook in the Fedora infrastructure, it will actually send a message across the bus, and we will grab that, and then we will pull out a piece of metadata from that message, and then we will inject that into our own Ansible playbook. And what's useful is that allows us to have Ansible playbooks run based on events in the infrastructure, such that, and include information from that event, such that we can then automate tasks like outside of infrastructure needs, but actual stepwise tasks that a person would otherwise do when something was to occur during certain points in the Fedora release cycle that aren't necessarily tied to a calendar date, but are potentially tied to when something were to occur. So beyond that, in Fedora 23 and 24 in updates testing, it is in Rawhide, and it will hopefully be in EPEL 7 soon. I need to do that today. But so I have a unit file. So we have our system unit file. We have and then there's also our config file, and the config file itself comes self-documented, but it's also set up out of the box to actually run and do something for you. To listen on the Fed message bus, and it's just going to look for build state change. And I picked that because it's something that is commonly happening. People are constantly building things in the Fedora infrastructure. So if we were actually to generalctl and we're going to follow the unit loopable.service, we can see here that there are plays happening, or there are playbooks executing locally and grabbing information off of the bus. So if I go over here, actually, and do a build, start a scratch build over here, that should trigger an event. We should see that. Okay, so a state change there, which will
I think the scratch build won't show up because you're just listening for real builds, and scratch builds are a different topic.
You're right. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. And of course. Working. It's working here. It's just not getting the event across the bus. Weird.
Well, welcome to demos.
Yeah.
Every time.
All right. This I will just figure out what's wrong and fix it. But that's effectively the goal, is to have the ability for messages to go across the bus and react to them with in order task execution playbooks with Ansible.
Okay. So let me ask really quickly, is there anything that you would like to hear from people, or anything that you would, any kind of feedback explicitly that you're looking for, or anything like that?
Yeah, any kind of feedback, if there's anything about it that isn't working that anybody notices, if there's anything about it that could be enhanced upon or would be seen as more useful, I welcome both comments, feedback, as well as pull requests on GitHub. So yeah, anything that anybody has would be greatly appreciated.
If you've got it, we will take it.
Yeah.
So since it's a bit quieter at my house now, I'll also note, Adam, could you mute your line? Thanks. I'll tie the two demos together by saying that Loopable is going to be at least a short-term important piece of our atomic and container automation work that has been ongoing. So this is what we use to drive some of that, and we'll be using it for both of those deliverables. One of the other things that we are going to be dependent on is being able to automate signing, to be able to automate our processes end to end. So Patrick has been kind enough to work with us to make some progress there on a deliverable that we've had sitting in our on our roadmap and in our backlog for quite a long time without being able to make a lot of progress. So Patrick, I'll hand it over to you to demo what you've got today.
Can you hear me?
We can. It's a bit quiet though.
Okay, I'll try to move closer to the microphone. Let me see how I can share my screen. This is an entirely different interface than last time. Screen share. Let's see. Does that actually work?
I saw an alarming number of my faces, so yes.
Okay, are you able to see the terminal, and is the size okay?
Yep.
So today I was way underprepared because I had no idea what to expect for this demo. I just wanted to show a small thing. So with RPMOS3, this is an RPMOS3 object that I pulled down from my personal repository. And I'm providing it with where I stored the repository files and the hash of the commit. Asking for a passphrase. And of course, it's not working.
No.
This is aha. And let's also restart the server. Okay, let's see. That's better. Okay, nothing happened. And now when I do a repository show, note that this is the exact same command as I'm entering here. And this time it got point signature from the key that is stored in Sigil. So with this, we are now able to actually sign RPM S3 deliverables. And after that, I've also implemented a mechanism that I call secure passphrases, which basically tie a passphrase into the hardware of the vault. But there's not much demo about that at this moment because that's supposed to be invisible until you break it.
Please don't. We'll have that ready to demo as soon as we basically tie these pieces together and we're able to show things end to end, and we can just show that nothing's broken. So I'll give a minute and ask if anybody either here in the team space or anybody in IRC has any questions to ask. Otherwise, if people watch this after the fact or decide they have questions later, then we are always, of course, in #Fedora-Relinge, and we can always answer questions there. But I'll just take a minute before we wrap things up for the day to allow for those. Okay, I don't see any coming across, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We'll hang out in the IRC channel for a little bit after this, just in case anybody does want to raise anything. I know there's a bit of a lag between what YouTube shows and what we're actually recording here. So we'll stick around for a bit. If anybody would like to cover anything, certainly give us a shout. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you, people who demoed, for demoing, and we will see everyone again in a month. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.